Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Talking Podcast, the fastest growing podcast in Rwanda. My name is David Omvita, aka the People's Choice. It feels good to be back again in the studio. And of course, we bring you nothing but the very best of first-hand entrepreneurship information. Now, this is a platform that brings you that information so that you can actually learn. Of course, we believe learning through listening. Now, this week, we have somebody very interesting. And of course, this is a platform to connect you with the world's expert people so that they provide you with whatsoever you'd like to learn about something very interesting. And of course, talking of something interesting, we're looking at a very educative topic of discussion. We'll be looking at digital entrepreneurship, which is a very exciting topic of discussion because, everybody now is talking about online shopping, online businesses, setting up their businesses online, of course, structuring their business module to that which can adapt to the online demand. Now, helping me to talk about this topic is Giulia. Now, Giulia is somebody who is really passionate about this, of course, and he's an expert. Of course, he has got vast experience in, of course, navigating through this, and he's going to be helping us to navigate questions like how do you structure your business in the online world or in the digital world, right? And it's also going to help us to navigate through the disadvantages and advantages of actually transitioning or going digital in this world. Allow me to introduce my guest this week on this podcast. Giulia, welcome to the Talking Podcast.
Thank you, David.
I'm happy to have you.
I'm happy to be here.
Exactly. How do you feel to be in Kigali, by the way?
I feel privileged because the whole country, not just the city, has been a pleasant surprise for the organization, order, and cleanness, which was very unexpected.
Amazing. Now, for those who do not know who Giulia is, this person here is a PhD holder and also a professor in digital strategy. So, of course, you know that he has got vast experience to navigate through this topic. So now, Giulia, tell us a bit about yourself before we dive into the main conversation.
So I'm almost 50 years old. I'm Italian, but
Nice.
I've been living in the last 20 years in Barcelona. I'm a chemical engineer by background, and I hold an MBA and a PhD. I've been working in the industry. I was a patent attorney. I work in sales. I was in a pharmaceutical company, in telco company. And now since 4 years, I mainly do teaching. I teach in 10 different countries. My main school is ESADE in Barcelona, but I teach like here in African Leadership University, in Japan, in Iran, in UK, in Peru. And then also I'm an investor, and I started digital entrepreneurship with a company which is called Navozyme, which was co-founded with by two Indians. One is resident in Barcelona, the other one lives in Singapore. And we started into this idea of creating a paperless world for the maritime industry. So that's that is my approach into a real startup, digital startup, besides what I work every day with digital scientists in my research on artificial intelligence, time, COVID effects, and problem framework, for example.
Great. Talking of digital entrepreneurship, of course, it may sound to be so familiar, but of course, when we talk of maybe a few years ago, not so many people were familiar with this term. But now, everybody is talking about digital entrepreneurship. In as much as it's out there, not so many people also can really understand more about it. From yourself, from your perspective, what is digital entrepreneurship?
So digital entrepreneurship, of course, has grown a lot because now there is a trust in digital. Let's think about some years ago when people didn't even trust to put their credit card number for payments. And there is potential because now you have many issues that can be solved digitally, like what we propose in Navozyme, which is instead of having documents that every boat, every ship has to provide to the port authority when they arrive, instead to put everything online so that every document is ready, is standardized, and it doesn't have any surprise. Because what happens with the document, sometimes the signature is not visible or the paper has been deteriorated, and that means that you have to provide a new document, and sometimes to provide a new document can take a week. That means that if it takes a week, the boat has to be in the harbor for 1 week more, and the boat can cost $50,000, $100,000 per day. So it's lots of money. So what we propose is a blockchain-based solution that provides all the documents that are needed in a digital format.
Perfect. You have a vast experience in this. What has been the change and how are people now embracing the digital world?
So people can see that, of course, since the major tech company are the most profitable, there is, of course, a strong money-driven interest. But also people have seen that behind the profits, and anyway, it's not all the digital company are profitable, because we think about Uber, WeWork, they are not profitable yet, even Spotify. There is also a need of speed up certain process. In the government, there is a need of giving better services and faster services. So there's been lots of different attempts, but we all see that a successful digital entrepreneurship company, digital startup, can have lots of potential with sometimes a relatively low investments and low barrier entrance.
Correct. So I'm wondering, I believe for somebody now to transition from there, maybe a usual traditional way of doing business and into the digital world now, or digital entrepreneurship, they really have to be strong when it comes to coming up with strategies, right? What role does strategy play in setting up your business, maybe online or digital?
So the strategy is a way to coordinate all the decisions within a certain framework. So once we decided that the strategy of a company is to, for example, provide the cheapest product, so all the decisions taken within the company have to be oriented in providing the cheapest product. So that's a decision in the cost of the logistics, the cost of the production. So now, when we consider the strategy for a digital company, we have to consider what traditional versus digital means. Because, for example, the latency. Now you have a digital timing, which is sometimes real time or very, very fast. You know immediately what the customer is doing. You have immediate feedback, positive or negative, when something went well, especially when something went bad. With the traditional model, traditional strategy, this could take sometimes weeks before you are realizing that you are doing a mistake, or before you had the data of how your products were selling. Instead, now this is very fast. This brings to the other question, which is the famous customer-centric concept. You cannot just focus on the company process. You have to focus on being customer-centric, because that's what the customer needs. If we think about a mobile phone, a smartphone, there is lots of technology behind. There is lots of research. But what people want, that is easy to navigate, that's also as a small baby can navigate with it. They don't care about the process that it took to get to that smartphones. They just want a product which is easy to use. That is what customer-centric means. So when we are considering digital entrepreneurship, we have to consider that what we are giving has to comply with these basic rules. So it has to be fast and it has to be customer-centric. Otherwise, you will be just taken away from competition in almost no time.
When would you say is really the right time for, let's say, these maybe other businesses that have not even thought of transitioning to the digital world, yet they're still doing the usual traditional way of business? What can you say towards that? And also for those that are still maybe in their initial stages, who are still trying to adapt to the digital entrepreneurship, how should they go about really penetrating their market or changing their strategy?
So very many companies consider sales as an indicator that if you are of performance. But sometimes sales can drop very sharply, and the time you have to react is not enough. So you are out of the market and you don't even realize how and when. A good indicator to understand if you are in the right track is, of course, observing the competition. So if you see what your competitors are doing, even if it looks like that they are advancing too much. Maybe if all of them are doing something, that's a sign. Or if the most important ones are investing into something, that's a sign that maybe you have to start changing your behavior, that you start also being adapting. Customers that keep buying you, maybe they either don't tell you or they even don't know that there is an alternative until they find the alternative and they stop buying you. And that's too late again. So I will definitely consider, of course, sales and customer comments, but I will definitely observe what the competition is doing, if there is competition. For example, in our case, with Novozyme, there was no competition because we were the first one in providing this kind of services. But this is also a problem because then you don't really sell because no one knows that they can buy that there is a service or they don't trust it's going to work. So everyone is waiting the next one to do the first move. So sometimes it's not a technological problem that is stopping the startup. It's a more strategic, classic strategy problem that you have to just give and make understand the value to your target consumer.
Nice. When we talk of entrepreneurship, of course, we have so many people out there who are aspiring to, be entrepreneurs. And one of the huge challenges in the entrepreneurship sector is to get started. And of course, somebody out there may want to start a business, and now they're wondering, how can I make my business idea so ideal to an extent that it can be even prototype digitally?
So the agile approach somehow is really paying off lots of company. And agile, I use the word which is a buzzword, but agile means test and learn. So you don't wait the product to be finished to present it, but you start presenting what you have, even if it's unpolished. The famous concept of better done than perfect. Because even us, we started with a blockchain-driven product, and now actually what we are focusing on is an AI-driven product which has actually little to do with our initial product. But we had to go through the first attempt to realize that that was not going to provide enough cash to survive. We needed something else. So the faster you fail, the better. And you're going to fail because especially in concept.
So failure is a guarantee.
Yeah, failure is a guarantee. You have to be ready to fail, especially if you are the first mover. Because no one knows, even the biggest startup. We've seen Google has failed in many things. Think of Picasa, think of Google+. They, even if they had the scale and the scope, they couldn't really succeed. So you have to be ready to fail. What you have to do is to understand when and how to recover from that failure and have a B plan, and especially the famous discourse of passion that applies also to digital strategy. It's not all AI driven or technical. Passion will help you because you have to endure, because after the first failure you will get demotivated. So if you are passionate about something, you are willing to put that extra effort that will allow you to endure. And endurance is very, very important in digital entrepreneurship, as in any type of entrepreneurship.
But failure is hard to endure, right? So many people, they are afraid of failure.
Yeah, but you see that most of the successful people, they've been enduring. And you have cases of people who really endure to more than 10 failures. And at the end, they succeeded. That's what I think the most common things of the majority of the entrepreneurs. And when talking about small entrepreneurs, those who have company where have 5, 10 employees. Where I live in Barcelona, in Catalonia, in that region, there are 200,000 small and medium companies. 200,000.
Wow.
And you probably, you won't know most of them, the name. Maybe if you are from Catalonia, maybe you know 2 or 3 of them. All the others are small entrepreneurs. But this is the structure of every single country. In every single country, you have small and medium-sized company than multinational company. But this is what really makes the structure of the entrepreneurial things. So think about them. They all have failed. They all have struggled to continue. But this is a way that you can create value, you can capture value, and especially you keep creating jobs in your own country instead of sending it somewhere else.